As much as I like football, I look forward to the transfer window. This is when the players start moving to different clubs. This is the point when it gets completely off the field and really interesting. From Lionel Messi to Sahal Abdul Samad, the transfer window globally and locally has seen unexpected twists and turns. But what exactly goes into the business of football transfers? A transfer is all about negotiations between the clubs and players. They negotiate the contract that has elements like tenure, salary, and playtime.
There are multiple ways a transfer can work. Of course, one of the famous ways in which Indian clubs transfer their players, that's through free transfers. And let's just say there is a player called player A who wants to move from club X to club Y. And let's say club X and club Y are both in a country called country C. So if they are in the same country, you would just require 3 signatures. So you would basically need club X and club Y to agree a transfer fee if there is still some contract value remaining, and you will need the signature of player X on that. And then the National Association signs it off and that's it. However, if it is an international transfer, that's when it gets a bit tricky. If it's within the same confederation, you'd basically then need the 2 confederations to liaise with each other as well to get the signatures done, and it needs to go through the FIFA international transfer system.
Though the deal is all about 2 to 3 signatures, there is a lot of effort that goes into it. There is a lot of planning that goes into the club's choices. The chief among this is finance.
A football player is only valued how much someone is willing to pay for him. There is no, overall market where, you understand, okay, that 1 liter of petrol costs me, 9,500 bucks. There's no market, or there's no market value like that. Okay, one footballer who has played 5 seasons in the ISL, who scored 10 international goals and who won the Golden Boot, he should be valued at this. There's no parameter where you can judge that. It depends on multiple factors. How is he performing? What is his age? His or her age and current contract length, and which team they're currently playing for. Multiple factors, they combine together, and then there is basically an arbitrary number that one club will come up. Okay, so this is what we are willing to pay for him, and what do you think about it? Right. But having said that, there is some websites who have like profiles of multiple players across the globe. I mean, almost all the players who are playing professionally across the globe. It's basically called Transfer Market, and they give you a sort of an idea about where, how much they are valued at, considering they value the top players at 100 million and 200 million and 250 million, like the Mbappes and the Ronaldos and the Messi. Right, so that is where they derive their valuation from. So if Messi is valued at 100 million in today's market, what would a Sunil Chhetri be valued at? So that is where they give their numbers. But then again, like I said, it's not fixed. It's very arbitrary, right? And it only depends upon what a club is willing to pay for their service.
Now that the finance is sorted, the focus moves to the player. The position they play, their track record, and the future viability. So what is the true value of a player?
There are some ways in which you can calculate the value of your assets, and players are counted as intangible assets. So you can calculate on the basis of what is the value that is remaining on their contract, how much you are paying them. You can have a calculation on the basis of that. There are some frameworks which take in account the statistics from previous seasons as well. There is one good framework that has been developed by Laurie Shaw. So Laurie Shaw is the head of data analytics in Manchester City. So he basically calculated it to the players' wages. So it's basically the wage should be equals to 19.4 multiplied by the value of the player into square value of the player. The only way you can value a player is what's the net book value of the player, how much value the player has remaining, because the accounting system doesn't allow for anything more. But there are different ways in which Manchester United values the player as well. They take into account the media rights and the image rights that goes on the social media and everything else as well to put the value of the player. So they also put in account, okay, how much this player is generating on the social media through the club accounts, and they have got various AI tools to do that, something which not a lot of clubs have yet adapted to.
Now, everything has gone well, but there is one thing that is left: the player's consent. After all, it is the player who ultimately decides the club that they choose to play for. So, how does a player finalize their club?
Two facets involved: where you've played previously, how you've played in the previous year, and your stature in the market right now. If you're a senior player who is played in the ISL, okay, maybe you're 31, 32, maybe you're not as good in the ISL anymore, but you want to get down to still play, get down to I-League. Now, a player like that won't go away for 50, 60,000. They would need at least 70 to 80,000, 1 lakh a season to actually even consider those things, right? On the other hand, if a young player who's had a very good season, but does not have a lot of background, just been through academies and all, then you can, we also have to, in a way, mentor the players to say, boss, you're kind of, getting too far ahead. Slow down. You'll have those opportunities later. But right now, what's more important for you is the game time. So that is accordingly, they kind of reduce their salary 20,000 a month, things like that. And if a player who's, kind of played in the ISL, just wants to get ahead into ISL, just get a team, it's kind of for their own survival. I would say ISL is a place which is, I call the survival of the fittest and the best, right? So if you're not good enough, then you will have to, kind of go lower. They would also have to compensate on that manner. See, if they need to be self-aware. If their performance is good, only then they can get higher salaries. If their performance isn't good, then they would have to reduce their salary expectations to meet with the club's agenda and then meet them in the middle to be able to get to a club. Because you have to understand, they need to fend for themselves for the coming season. Now, if they have exorbitant salary expectation which none of the teams can fill, at the end of the day they'll be left without a team next season. So that's in fact worse than not playing at all, and in fact playing with a lower salary. So all of these things have to be considered.
The deal is done. The club has found the best player for their team. But now it all comes down to one point: how the player fares on the ground.